Welcome into BMOC's Bet Buffet, where we bring in big man on campus. Find him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau, and we go over 4 games off of this weekend's college football card. Big man is in bounce back mode, but he's 17-15 overall this season. So let's welcome him in. Jeff, how you doing today, buddy?
Doing good, Drew. Always good to do the Bet Buffet with you. I'm excited. We got 4 games here. I'm ready to get into it here.
Well, let's get into it. 12 noon kickoff. We got Temple versus Army. Looks like 45.5 the total. We got a -7 at 5 dimes towards Army and a -6.5 at Bet Online, depending on which side you're looking to bet. How are you looking to bet this game, big man?
I'm looking to bet on Army in this spot at 6.5. I think at home they're really priced correctly here. I've mentioned you before. I'm not really interested in them, up at the into the 20s. They're just not meant to be kind of laid that high. But I think at this number, it's a really good play here at home for the midshipmen. Temple's really struggled to get any really cohesion at all in this football team all year. I think at the beginning of the season, the goal was really to get the run game going with so much turnover at quarterback and at various parts of this group. But they really haven't been able to get their run game going. One of the worst run offenses in the country, 120th overall. Just haven't been able to get that going. They had quarterback problems. There's been injuries with their top 2 quarterbacks. And they've really had trouble getting stops defensively on the ground as well. You look at in certain games here, they have been eaten alive on the ground, and that concerns me. You look at this Army team, Drew, just 8 pass completions all year in 7 games. We know they're one of the most potent run offenses in the country and one of the best offensive lines as well. This group has not given up a sack this year. They're just really road graders up front. And you have a pretty underrated Army defense. This team's 43rd in total defense. I think with this number, it's hard to envision Temple going up there and doing much of anything positively. I think it's a good number. You're getting it under that touchdown mark. I think Army continues their hot play against Temple. They beat them last year. I see no reason they can't get this offense going yet again and cover a pretty short impost here at 6.5. I think this is like a 27-13 type of game. 31-17. I think Army will do enough to get up and over that touchdown mark. I was really surprised that the number is only 6.5 here.
All right, moving on to 2 p.m. Eastern kickoff. We got 329, 330, Kent State versus Ohio. A little MACtion here. Looks like the Ohio Bobcats laying 19, or you can find a 19.5 at Bet Online if you're looking to bet on Kent State. The total, 45.5 at Chris, 46 at Bet Online. This one will be aired on ESPN3. Big man, how are you looking to bet this MACtion?
I'm looking to bet the favorite here, Ohio. I think a lot of people look at this game and a lot of people don't have a lot of luck with Ohio, including myself. They just seem like a team that kind of hurts you when you really need them. But Kent State is, as many of us know, really struggled to move the football this year. And for me, Drew, I don't think Kent State can exploit anything Ohio doesn't do defensively. Ohio's not a great pass defense, but they're really good against the run. And when you're facing Kent State, if you can shut down the run, you really kind of shut down that one-dimensional football team. I also look for the Ohio Bobcats to really run it down Kent State's throat. Kent State's really struggled on the road, giving up points this year. And I know they've hung against certain teams, but you look at Kent State and the games that they're hanging in, Drew, most of them are in games against teams that are similar to them. Miami of Ohio, Northern Illinois, Buffalo, Marshall, and even in those games, hanging around for Kent State is staying within 20. The teams that they step up in competition that have somewhat potent offenses, I know I'm throwing out Louisville and teams like that, but this Ohio team, really potent offensive group. They're starting to get good quarterback play. They welcome Poppy White back in the receiving core. They have a great running back in Dorian Brown and AJ Willett. I really just think they imposed their will here and just kind of cruise. They played well. They had a big win against Bowling Green, put up a ton of points in that game. I just don't know. The teams that are going to trouble Ohio are these up-tempo teams that, they can't stop through the air. Kent State's not going to give you much pushback through the air. They can't move the ball vertically. I just think this is a bad matchup for Kent State. I look for Ohio to come in and really get a solid home victory here and run away with this one by 24 to 30 points. I think they really pound Kent State here and kind of get back and going here in the MAC. They've won 4 or 5. I look for them to make it 5 or 6 and run away with this one.
We got two 7 p.m. Eastern kickoffs, big man. We got the first one, a really competitively lined game, a good one here. Southern Miss versus Louisiana Tech, and the total's 55.5, pretty much across the board. Actually, it is across the board right now on the SBR odds screen, and 2.5 minus 115 towards Louisiana Tech. So not much opinion as far as a side or total from any of the sports books. Nobody wanting to step away from that 2.5 number, which is kind of an interesting line movement. You know, betting 101 here, big man. So how are you looking to bet Southern Miss Louisiana Tech, 7 o'clock Eastern kick?
Yeah, I got to tell you, I think they made the wrong team a favorite in this game. Not really sure what La Tech's done to warrant being a favorite in this game. They're off of a bad loss to UAB, a team that we know isn't very good. For many people that maybe aren't aware, this isn't the same La Tech team that we've seen in past seasons with Jeff Driscoll and Cody Sokol and Ryan Higgins and Carlos Henderson. They don't have those type of players. Kenneth Dixon's not there anymore. They have a good group of running backs, but overall, Jamar Smith's a guy that's went through some growing pains at times this year. He struggled to be good through the air, and I think the Southern Miss team, they're a team that I was really interested in as the season started. I love their defense. They are one team in um, the Conference USA that really always comes at you and plays really good defense. You look at overall, Drew, impressive stuff. 20th in total defense. Their offenses seem to move a lot better with Quadra Gregson. He's going to start this game. They have a great running back in Ito Smith. And you look at over the last couple of years, Drew, it really hasn't mattered who's commanded the offense for La Tech. Southern Miss has had their number. I remember last year, Black Friday, this Southern Miss completely perplexed La Tech in that football game. I believe it was the championship game in Conference USA. Southern Miss knows how to play La Tech. They play them well every year. I just think they're the better football team. They have a little bit more to play for here. And overall, I feel more comfortable backing the dog here. Not quite sure why they're a dog. Could we be getting God here and Southern Miss is kind of a fraud? Maybe. They seem to do it every year. But overall, I think they're the better football team. I think they get the job done. I think they win the game outright, but we'll take the points in our back pocket. Look for Southern Miss to get a big Conference USA win to try to keep pace with some of the big boys in this conference.
Yeah, good breakdown, big man. I mean, you bring up Kenneth Dixon and also the quarterback play. You brought up Higgins, a couple other guys that actually got some NFL looks there out of Louisiana Tech, and they just don't have that this year. What about the, do you ever bring in, you know, what the books are telling you numbers-wise? Laying the -2.5, -115 across the board. No books are actually +3 towards Southern Miss. So is that something that also gets you thinking maybe, you know, the books don't want any threes out there either, helping your cause?
Yeah, I think you're totally right there. And I think, for me, Drew, the Conference USA is interesting because most casual bettors aren't betting it. And if they do, they're betting the La Techs, the West Kentuckys, and they've got this year with La Tech. They're a totally different football team. Southern Miss is a team that I think overall not a lot of people know much about. I think they're kind of throwing out this 2.5, and I'm sure they're going to get a lot of people with this thinking, well, La Tech's at home here. They haven't played particularly well lately, but they're still La Tech. At the end of the day, they're not that good a football team this year. They don't have that program defining quarterback that they had. I mean, last year, do you remember how many numbers they covered? It's rare that you get a team in a total kind of rebuild like they are in, but they've went and become a totally different offensive team. They're just not what they once were. I agree with you. I don't think they want a 3 out there. They won't put a 3 out there. But I got to tell you, I think they're going to get some people on La Tech. Too many people follow what happened last year and don't look into much as to how different they are this year. They just take the word for it. Southern Miss is the play here.
Yeah, for sure, big man. And we got one more at 7 p.m. Eastern, USF versus Tulane. Looks like USF is laying 11 at Chris, 11 and a half pretty much everywhere else. This one's on ESPN2. 54 is the total. Tulane's a team that's gotten me this year. When I bet on them, they lose. When I fade them, they win. So I've pretty much stayed away from the green wave as of last week. But how are you looking to bet this one, man?
Again, it's not one of those things that you want to do in handicapping, laying double digits on the road. But in college, it's something I frequently do a little bit more. I'm going to lay the number here with South Florida. I think this is a tough matchup for Tulane. And Drew, you look at over these different conferences, you see these certain teams that just dominate against the spread. South Florida is one of them. In this conference, they have been absolutely fantastic, covering 3 in a row this year, 14 of 18 overall. They're just a good ATS team, Drew. They've really put a lot of money in my pocket. And I think this conference in general is a good moneymaker. They've covered 21 of 31 overall over the last 4 games, Drew, this team has just really found it. And I liken it back to the game against Illinois, a game that I laid the number in. A lot of people were skeptical in laying it because they were at home. They were off that Hurricane game. They hadn't played well. They're struggling at Stony Brook. But I thought to myself, I think it's a great spot for their season to begin. They've been able to escape. They're at home. They have a great home crowd here. And they've rattled off 4 in a row, scoring 46 points a game during that time. And Drew, I don't know if many know this, but they have a pretty damn good defense as well. The concern I have for Tulane here is, can they move the football? Jonathan Banks was absolutely horrific last week against Florida International. 5 for 16, 1 interception for 36 yards. He had a quarterback rating of 8.8, just brutal through the air. And I think this week he's going to have to throw the football again, and it does not look good for Tulane. South Florida is third in the country against the run, giving up just 2.45 yards a carry, under 80 yards a game. They are really good against the run. That's one thing I've always loved about this group. They're really good against the run. Tulane has major trouble stopping it. I look for Quentin Flowers to have another big day here. I just think they oppose their will here and pull away. Do I think it'll be 33-3 like last week? No, but I think this is a 38-13 type of game. South Florida scored 30 points or more in like 25 straight games. It's absolutely amazing what this team has done offensively. I look for it to continue here. Tulane is in a real tough spot here off a loss against South Florida.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. That was a good breakdown, man. And what, 31-21? That's a hell of an ATS
really
run
good
for USF. Yeah, so just to recap here, we got Army -6.5. You can find that at Bet Online. We got Ohio Bobcats -19, pretty much across the board. Southern Miss +2.5, and USF -11. That all sound correct, big man?
That would be correct, sir.
Hey, one thing I wanted to ask you. So USF versus UCF, the war on I-4. What would you set that line at right now, an advanced line?
It's in UCF, or?
You know what? I don't know that off the top of my head. But if it was a neutral site game,
it's actually if it's a neutral site, shit, man. Pick 'em.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I don't. I think it's a really even matchup. I mean, you had 2 good quarterbacks, 2 explosive offenses, 2 pretty solid defenses. I don't see much of a difference between the 2 teams, frankly.
No, I'd say about that too. Yeah, that sounds about right.
It'll be interesting to see, just because that game will be towards the end of the year. I believe they play this year towards the end of the year. If not, meet in the final. Yeah, that's an interesting one, Drew, for sure. I think they're really 2 even football teams.
Yeah, I agree with you. And anything else before we close this out?
No, always looking forward to another weekend in college football. And I don't mention it too much, but I've had a banner year over at with my premium plays. I've had a great year there. Really have enjoyed SBR Forum. You and I and Donnie and Ian, all of us have really had a great year this year doing football stuff, and I look forward to it continuing. I'm Drew, working on some college basketball, as you know. I'm really looking forward to the year in that sport. You know, my passion, one of my wheelhouses. So I've enjoyed doing the bet buffet. Let's look to another. Let's get a good week here.
Yeah, man, for sure. And you bring up college basketball. I think we're going to do the kickoff or the tip-off on Friday, just straight stream all the way through. So I know you'll be a big part of that. So I think that's only about 3 weeks away from tomorrow. So that will be fun with college basketball. But yeah, big weekend of college football ahead. Make sure to follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. This is the BMOC Bet Buffet. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.